Hey everybody, I'm going to try something new. And I know I've been away a long time and I didn't have that many viewers anyway. I really had none. But I wanted to do something other than playing a game because I love games. But that gets old when you live in a world that frustrates and angers you on a daily basis. So I wanted to try something new and I don't know if this is going to work out or not. You all can tell me. I wanted to take a look at news outlets, so called news outlets, that do nothing but whip people into a frenzy using I can't even say conservative agenda, it's a right wing agenda to protect fossil fuels, large corporations, and put money in the pockets of politicians who really do not have our best interest at heart. All they care about is money for themselves and their friends. And there are plenty of news organizations that do not. They just don't tell the truth. They spew editorial content that is not at all vetted, and they whip the community of people who believe everything they read on Facebook into a frenzy over issues that are really non-issues. They are out and out lies a lot of the time. So I wanted to take a look at one article today. This is from a newspaper local to me. I live in a small town in Ohio. It's quite rural. There's not a whole lot of industry here. You are as likely to see a horse and buggy or a tractor on the road as you are to see a regular vehicle. So these issues are really very important. And so you have a very large right-wing base. More than 75% of this county voted for Trump in the last election. And that actually tells you a lot about the demographic. However, there are numerous systemic things that cause an undervaluation of the more progressive demographic that lives in our area. And there are some of us. For instance, I can now drive down the street and see a lot of LGBTQ plus pride flags. I mean, not a ton, but there's a lot for this area, which is awesome. There are a few Black Lives Matter signs, and I think that's great. I have a Black Lives Matter decal on the back of my car, and I've been tailgated, harassed, flipped off, screamed at, and accosted in parking lots with people screaming Blue Lives Matter or All Lives Matter at me. And in this area, I just have to turn around and walk away because there is no fighting the ingrained attitude that the lies of the media in this area produces. The newspaper that I want to focus on today used to be a fairly up-the-middle publication about 10 to 12 years ago. It was bought by a company called AIM Media Midwest. If we do a search for AIM Media Midwest, what we end up seeing is a few articles about how they have acquired and are on a roll acquiring small town media outlets like the Highland County Press in my area. So what I wanted to do was take a look at a particular article here, but first let's take a look at this is under headlines in a quote-unquote newspaper and is designed to whip up Republican rhetoric. As Biden seeks to limit U.S. oil production, reliance on Russian imports rises. Let's take a look here. Biden's agenda is harming the American producer while buttressing the Iranian and Russian industries. Now, if you notice the positioning of the quotation marks, it's attributing it. This sentence seems to attribute this entire sentence, this entire quote, to this person, Kathleen Skama. But basically what it did was, through these quotation marks right here, she said this phrase, buttressing the Iranian and Russian industries. She didn't say this part. This is editorial right here. This stuff, Biden's agenda is harming the American producer. This was inserted by the person writing the article. Also, the words tipped us into oil dependence on Russia just a year after complete independence. This article author has thrown these two words in here outside of the quotation marks. I'm seeing this more and more. They are twisting people's words, including partial quotes and no context, and making up their own context to support Trump. This is, again, an example of how conservative media is just beholden to their God. This isn't supposed to be Fox News. Everybody knows what they get when they go to Fox News. But when you get a newspaper thrown on your doorstep every day, you expect that newspaper to be full of stuff that's actual news, not editorializing unless it's in the editorial section, and certainly not this stuff that we see here where they just add their own context to twist people's quotes into something that supports their message. Now let's go on back over here to the community support needed to stop solar fields. I'm not going to read through this article. I will highlight a couple of things. She claims she's an adjunct professor at a community college, which means she's not a full-time professor. She gets paid to teach like one class. I think the last time I checked it out, they were getting paid about $4,000 to $4,500 per class per quarter. Says she has a master's degree in education and 2 bachelors of the arts. She gives her history and how she was born here, her family was born and raised here, all that stuff. She says she's got a lot of facts, but then says that she has questions. So she didn't really say any spout any facts. She doesn't provide really any kind of support for these things either. She talks about, how would you like to have our community surrounded by these farms running the risk of potentially becoming a solar desert, which, by the way, I tried to look up solar desert. All I get is deserts with solar panels. But she's talking basically about contracts that allow cleanup for unfinished projects that are abandoned to fall back on the owner of the land and not the lessee. In this case, the solar energy company. And complaining that it's going to be a solar panel junkyard. Well, first off, not really your business. It's the landowner's business. Therefore, and as long as they have the proper easements and stuff like that, I don't see a problem. But then she goes into this. How would you, if you were a hunter, like to not be able to hunt in your area anymore because all the animals will be rerouted? I didn't know that we were going to reroute animals. I don't know that you can, especially since it's private property. You're not allowed to hunt on there anyway. That's called poaching. Unless you have specific permission from the owner, you can't be hunting there. And then she claims that there are multiple breeding pairs of the American bald eagle. I've seen bald eagles around here. I've seen them over there in this area. Never saw the nests or anything. But they don't really build nests in fields. So I'm not too worried about nesting in fields. These things we're talking about are corn and soybean fields, not deforestation in any way. How would you like after years and years of building up the equity in your home and property, having it plummet because of these fields? Logically, can anyone really believe that property values won't plummet? The research shows from other areas that it does. Really? Where's that research at? Let's go over here. Oh, look, there is, however, considerable data suggests that solar farms have little to no impact on nearby property values. Study. Oh, here we go. First thing. All right. Google solar farm property values drop. It's a common misconception that ground-mounted solar farms decrease nearby property values. Examining property values in states across the United States demonstrates that large-scale solar arrays often have no measurable impact on the value of adjacent properties. In some cases, may even have positive effects. Bam. So we've debunked like a couple of her arguments already. What I'm seeing here is a legitimate concern that is basically contractual and is not any of her business. This would be her business if she was the property owner or the lessee. But she claims that we, the current generation and multiple generations after us, will be living in a solar panel junkyard, and that we would be responsible for the cleanup. No, there is no we. You're not going to be doing any of that. I do want to address the fact that she claims that you can't hunt in your area anymore because all the animals would not be able to travel through. Well, look, they can do whatever they want to on their property, and you can't hunt on their property without specific permission in writing. If it's posted no hunting, which I do believe it is, you're not going to be hunting over there. Sorry. This is an emotional attack. It's equivalent to the NRA saying that Democrats are coming after your guns. No, they're not at all. This is the equivalent of that, saying, oh, the solar panels are going to come after your hunting. No. Solar values do not make your property values drop. Windmills do not make your property values drop. All that stuff. We've debunked that already. Your family will be exposed to elevated health risk and the chemicals used to maintain the panels, which can contribute to a higher chance of causing cancer and can contribute to the risk of contaminating the water supply. This is not true at all. Not true at all. Here we go. And if she wants to talk about water, basically water is used for cooling. It's not used up. It's pumped through things like a radiator and then put back into the aquifer. It doesn't pick up any chemicals along the way, any of that. It takes heat, excess heat from the panel, and transfers it to the water. So then we get into this. How would you like to see these beautiful fields taken away and destroyed by these solar panels? Well, how would you like to see the beautiful woods destroyed to build the house you live in? How would you like to see this beautiful barren landscape that has nothing on it actually have something on it? I mean, it's a stupid argument. It's not your property. You can't say what can be done with it. And here we go. She apparently thought of something else to add to the home equity thing. Why should my property have devaluation? Why should my health be in jeopardy? Why should my community and village be destroyed? I don't understand what the hell she's even talking about. Because none of those things have anything to do with any actual facts. Nothing at all. In a separate article in this same newspaper, It's an editorial where somebody writes about how solar energy won't work in solar farms and we need to fight it because he put solar panels on his home and didn't get a good return. I don't think he understands that there's a huge difference between a solar farm and throwing some panels on your roof and expecting a return. First off, the village isn't putting out the money. It's not coming out of your tax dollars, so you're already ahead there. And secondly, he claims that it can't produce enough to make you break even. Well, it can if you don't pay for the panels, and it certainly is not supposed to completely replace all energy production at the moment. The technology really isn't there yet, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't start doing it, start using less coal. There's no reason not to do it. Plus, the town will actually get some really good tax incentives and rebates and grants. Why is my life less valuable than citizens in large cities and companies who want greener energy? I don't even know what she's going for here. And if you do the research, in truth, they are not greener or better or a better resource for energy. Yeah, they are. Why should the land here be destroyed so companies like Amazon can have a certain agenda fulfilled? That is just something she's babbling about that she pulled out of her ass, and I don't understand what the purpose of that sentence even was. It's her emotional frustration at a company like Amazon, and she's applying that to solar panels in our area. Makes zero sense. Why should the land here be destroyed to supply energy to cities hundreds if not thousands of miles away? Well, first off, solar panels put energy into the grid. That energy is then dispersed evenly. It's not like that energy is getting put on a truck and taken to Cincinnati, or she says thousands, put on a truck and taken to Los Angeles. Of course not. No, it's going into the grid. Think of it like a battery. Okay? Think about a battery. In your car even. Your alternator charges that. It doesn't send that energy to your neighbor's car. What it does is it puts it into the battery. It is stored along with energy from any other sources you might have charging the battery, like a trickle charger that you plug in or a solar trickle charger that uses the sun. It all comes together in the grid and then goes out to the people who use electricity every day. Here, there, everywhere that particular grid functions. And it's not going to be hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. It just doesn't work that way. She's demonstrating a fundamental misunderstanding of how energy actually works. And so this argument, null and void. Here we go. Where do our rights in pursuit of happiness come into play? Well, you have rights, and you're perfectly entitled to your pursuit of happiness. What you're trying to do is deprive this landowner his rights in pursuit of happiness. I'm sorry, but that just doesn't work one way. Nobody's coming to your house and saying, we're going to tear down your porch so we can widen our driveway because we want to drive through so we can get to our hunting area. You would have a problem with that, and rightly so. So why do you think it only works the one way? And here we go again with the large cities allowed to walk all over smaller villages. I don't understand what she's talking about. So to wrap this up, we're going to read through some of these comments. I like John T. here. You claim many things, but provide very little evidence. I would think someone claiming to have multiple degrees would provide more than conspiracies. I like it. What are the chemicals used to maintain the panels that cause cancer? Windex? How do they compare to the herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, etc., sprayed on the bean and corn fields? Absolutely true, because of farm runoff. But they ignore all that. Here we go. You claim logically, can anyone really believe that property values won't plummet? Where is that research? Is it peer-reviewed? Will you provide the links? At the same time, I understand your frustration. I'm an amateur astronomer. When I moved here, there were only 2 of those 10,000-watt yard lights that stay on all night and visible from the top of my driveway. I stopped counting last year when they passed 30. 3 of them are now within an eighth of a mile of my pond where I used to be able to stargaze, but I have no business telling my neighbors they can't pollute my property with their lights because they are still afraid of the dark. And you know what? He's right. He doesn't have a right to tell them that. So why does she have a right to tell us what we can do with our property? Here's Mela? Okay, M-E-L-A. Talking to her, not to John T. Where you live used to be farm ground, but it's okay to take farm ground and put out in a housing development. Probably everyone didn't like that, but they didn't go crying for it to stop because that is, I'm assuming that is what the landowner wanted to do. Everyone has an opinion about something, but sometimes you should just keep your opinion to yourself. But that's not what this quote-unquote newspaper is about. Basically, this newspaper is the equivalent on paper of Tucker Carlson. Oh, everybody's praising her. Beautifully written. A+, 100. They do not belong anywhere in Ohio. Well written. Thank you for this important information. It has no information. It's filled with her fears that are unfounded and no factual evidence whatsoever. I am in Clinton County, and my home will be next to the Yellowwood project. I believe that's another solar field proposed. The one that on the northeast side of Lynchburg, supposed to be Lynchburg. I'd like to add that each project proposes 800 plus workers during construction and 4 once completed. These jobs are not for locals. Well, the 4 once completed? Yeah, I'd say they're probably going to be locals. They'll either hire locals or people who are doing it will move here and become locals. Now, yeah, any construction project's going to have a bunch of people come in to do the work. It's called a construction crew. And no, they're not always local because the local people don't have the expertise. Many strangers bust into our community. I'm raising a special needs child with social disorders that terrify her with strangers and noise sensory issues. Ever heard a pile driver? Yeah, it goes bang, 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 bang. Happens on the side of the road when they're putting in phone poles, too. No one will buy my home now. Why the hell not? Are you trying to sell it? Didn't think you were trying to sell it. So how do I protect her from this happening? I'm not against property rights, but I am for the rights of a handicapped child to live her life at home in peace and free. Okay, so she's basically saying that it shouldn't happen because her child who lives in the house is terrified of strangers and the construction crews are strangers. Look, at some point your child will have to deal with noise and strangers, okay? If she's got such problems that she needs that help, I'm not meaning to be insensitive, but maybe you should do something to drown out the noise, like have your air conditioner running, turn on some music, and you know what? Maybe you could even get her some noise-canceling headphones. This is not the problem of the other people. This is your issue as a parent, and you should take care of your child as a parent. But you can't steamroll everybody else's rights because you want it to stop. Well said. I agree with you 100%. Oh my God. See, this is the effect. She threw out all that misinformation with zero facts included, no research, and now she's got these people believing it because this quote-unquote newspaper is supposed to be a factual news publication. Solar companies can come in and destroy our community. Really? Nope. Don't think so. Our areas are being destroyed for money. It's not your area. And it's not green space if you're tilling it up every year and planting stuff. Spraying pesticides. Research, JT, please. Kudos to our own editor who did a great deal of research and wrote an outstanding article on days of sun in this state. That's opinions. We in this country are going to end up like Texas with massive blackouts. Here's your research. At least you won't have to deal with that bright light pollution. This is from somebody that works at this paper, and it's ridiculous. Texas has problems because they privatized their entire electrical grid, made it for profit only, and didn't maintain it. Has nothing to do with the renewable energies. They overperformed during the blackouts. And here we go. The same person, I still know about as much about solar energy as Hunter Biden knows about natural gas. Why are you bringing Hunter Biden up? He decided he was going to come back the next day and say something else. I always thought these progressive commenters were all about communistically telling people what to do. I thought they hated capitalism. I always thought they gave the impression of standing up for the little guy. I'm so wrong. Wow, the third worrying about lights while boomboxers mercilessly destroy the tranquility of our beautiful what's a boomboxer? I'll go research the Mobius strip of literal logic, or of liberal logic. Do you know what a Mobius strip is? A Mobius strip is one where you go start to cross it and all of a sudden you're back on the same side. So that makes no sense whatsoever. Thanks for throwing in some word that you don't understand. Good job. John T., if you read word for word what I wrote, this is from the author of this article. It says that I could not write out all the evidence I have found in one email or letter. Well, you didn't write out any of it. Do the research like me. It's out there. No, your 30 seconds of fucking Googling doesn't count as research. Sorry. I'm just so sick of people. They don't understand something, but they want to form an opinion anyway, so they make up their own facts. So can we please all start ignoring this garbage kind of partisan rag? So I guess that's the equivalent of slamming everybody's windshield with campaign lies for Republican congressmen. Things like that. Or the idiots that stand outside trying to pass out sovereign citizen cards. Or the ones who tried to make mask exemption ID cards on their home printers. Same thing. Because you deny facts and logic does not make them untrue. So we're really going to have to do something as a country to step up and solve the misinformation epidemic. COVID was not the only pandemic to hit us last year. It's just the only physical one. So let's think about things before we open our mouths. Let's do our due diligence. Let's go and take a look at actual fact sheets, actual resources, real studies, peer-reviewed journals, instead of making up context for quotes to support your agenda or whip up support for your side, or claiming that you have a lot of evidence and then throwing out all of these misinformed opinions without a shred of actual evidence, and then claiming that, it was just, I couldn't type it all out. She says she couldn't fit it all in one email or letter. I didn't realize there was a limit to length on an email. I mean, if there was, you could always attach it in a format like PDF, but that you also refused then to provide the links to your research. It's ridiculous, and people are eating it up. I don't want to live on this planet anymore.